Welcome, Manali. Thank you for taking the time out and talking to us.
Thank you so much, Sulika, for having me. It's so nice to be here.
Great. Thank you once again. So, Manali, your story is an example of what one can achieve when they truly love what they do. But like many of us, you too did not realize your passion on day one. In fact, you were well into your journey to be a certified chartered accountant. And it was much later in life that you realized that that's not your life's calling. Tell me what happened.
Yeah.
What made you realize?
So it's actually a very organic story. So it started from the time when I was really young and I used to bake with my grandmom. So we used to make a lot of cakes together and I used to love being in the kitchen. But I don't think I ever considered it a career path as such because I think coming from a more academic family and, doing well in school. And of course, our Indian culture encourages us to go into the doctor, lawyer, CA, finance, all of those kind of professions. So after my 10th grade, 12th grade, the question I was kind of asked by everyone was science or commerce. Nobody asked me hospitality. So choosing out of the two of them, it just happened to be commerce and I got stuck in chartered accountancy. I was like, okay, in India, what do we have that's good? What can I do that is, financial that's going to make me financially capable and independent and I wanted to succeed, so I chose CA and I was doing my CA BCom and I reached almost the final level, but I constantly found myself running away from there to the kitchen and wanting to just take a break. I used to be secretly reading recipe books inside my CA books so that I used to just do that to find some peace in what I was doing. And then it started to hit me. So I looked at my bosses, maybe, my bosses and all, and saw like, do I want to be there in 10 years? Do I want to be there in 15 years? Is this what I see myself doing in life? And at some point, it took a little bit of a breakdown, but like basically we got there and I finally realized that maybe I can pursue this and give it a shot, a real shot. And if it doesn't work out, we can always, look at another option, but I need to give it its due chance. And that's why I just went and took a leap of faith.
That's amazing. You rightly said, as an Asian family, we all have been brought up with a certain notion that doctor, chartered accountant like yourself, lawyer, and or an engineer, they are like, the mainstream professions, if I can say. So it had to be an uphill task with your friends and family, explaining them, and considering you were at your final exams, as I understand, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about it. How did you go about it?
It was honestly quite a hard decision because you have to understand that at the age of maybe 25 or so, when you give up your career where you're already making progress, you're giving up all of that and starting from ground zero. So you're literally starting from scratch. So then when you see people around you who are of the same age, who are actually like doing really well at work and you're making like close to nothing and you're just working for free, interning and things like that, it took a lot of drive, and luckily I had the support of a lot of people around me. I mean, of course, initially it's always a little hard to convince our parents to let us get into fields like this because they always want that academic side of things, but they were very supportive by the end of it, and that really helped me. And my mom constantly, my dad, my whole family, actually, they were really encouraging me to pursue it initially, and they always used to ask me like, if you want, you can switch back, but if this is what you want to do, like, go ahead with it. Like, don't feel like you need to prove yourself. Do whatever you're truly interested in. So it took drive, it took a little bit of resilience, and probably just endurance to be able to get through that learning phase. And then after that, once the rewards started coming in, you start feeling like you're actually doing work that's worthwhile, and that really just makes it all worth it, honestly. And that's when you start realizing that, okay, maybe I'm in the right space, and it then feels rewarding.
That's amazing. But do you think it did add on to the pressure, of proving yourself and getting it right?
Absolutely. So, apart from just proving to myself, first I had to prove to a lot of other people because, like people from the older generations, especially, they have a very, very old school way of thinking that, you should complete your chartered accountancy and then move on. That was the biggest factor that I constantly got from a lot of people, that finish it and then go do whatever it is that you want to do.
Why leave it in
as
between?
a lot of people, exactly. And the trouble with that is that the chartered accountancy course is not time bound. It's something that really takes a lot out of you. The pass percentages are really small, and when you're not truly focused and interested in it, it's going to just eat away into your time. And I felt like my thought process was, why spend more time in a career that I know I don't want, rather than investing this time, these young years that I have, like in the career that I truly want to pursue, just for a piece of paper. So for all intents and purposes, I had already completed everything for that degree. So I had nothing to prove to anyone for that. So I didn't need that piece of paper in my hand to prove it to myself. So I just decided that rather than wasting more time in this, I want to actually invest my time in something I know I want to pursue. So it had to be something in the food industry, and I needed to figure out that little niche within that industry, but I wanted to invest time in that. And then, of course, just putting your head down and working really hard so that you could start, and making smart decisions too. Like, I think luckily I ended up taking smart decisions. So it wasn't like I went and attacked those opportunities by strategically thinking, okay, that will be good for my career. But I think I really lucked out and met a lot of good people along the way who helped me. And I really do feel like I managed to achieve a lot in about 4 or 5 years. If I look back as to what I thought I would be doing today, I would not have imagined that I would have actually been able to reach where I am today, which is, touch wood. Like, I really am grateful for that.
That is absolutely amazing. In fact, this is one part of you that really amazes me, and I have to say that, something that you say for yourself, that you're a constant, permanent beta. And you really are. If you're not taking courses, teaching somebody how to bake, you're yourself learning and training yourself, which is something about you, which is a constant. Tell me something, how do you get the drive?
So, to be honest, I've always been a curious person. And however wrong it sounds to say this, I bore really easily. So I don't enjoy doing the same thing day in and day out. I always want to learn something new. I'm always on the lookout to like try something out that's new, and just build my skill, because I love learning in general, but obviously only the topics that you enjoy. Maybe not chartered accountancy, but definitely like in the pastry world. Like I said, I used to be reading recipe books hidden inside my CA books. And I used to not just be reading recipes, I'd be reading about theory of cooking and things like that. And it really fascinates me. And I love to delve into all of the reasons as to why things are happening, not just, actually doing the processes. Once you understand what you're doing, it really helps you to make a better product and to ensure that your product is, quality, and you're doing the right techniques, and it makes such a difference. And that's what I like to share with people. So the teaching part of it came from the fact that I love interacting with people. I'm definitely a people's person. I like to be around people. I like to meet new people. So it seemed like the perfect space. And along with that, I do R&D because of this drive to, understand what's going on behind the processes, and also just keep studying and learning new stuff. Because, like I said, I bore easily and I like to learn. So it comes down to those two.
Amazing. But do you think the Indian market is ready for the artistry or the finesse that you want to bring to your products?
To be honest, it really is growing. I think with time, like in the last maybe 10 years or so, exposure has grown so much with a few things. One, travel and exposure in that way. People are traveling a lot more. They're actually being more experimental in the things that they're eating. But secondly, it's a small thing, but it's really made a massive impact, is things like shows like MasterChef. When people watch it on the TV, they see all these reality TV, these cooking shows and all from international chefs. It really creates this interest and the desire to eat those things that are available abroad, and that level of finesse. So the market is actually demanding it now, and now maybe it still needs time to grow, but it's definitely getting there. People are actually signing up to learn these things from me. People are hiring me to consult with them to create those things for their menus. So really, I can see it picking up. People actually want to go to this whole mousse-based entremets and fancy plated desserts and all. So you can see a lot of that picking up now, rather than just your chocolate truffle cake with the chocolate ganache filling. And, that was basically the standard. But now people are wanting to try new stuff and actually, go forward and take the next step.
That's really nice. That's amazing. Since you mentioned travel, I have to ask, did COVID impact your business? Nowadays, it's most hand in hand.
Funnily enough, it actually impacted it in a positive way because it pushed me to do what I've been putting off for a long time. So just before the pandemic, I was working with a pastry shop here in Mumbai. And because I live with my grandparents, I really didn't want to take any chances. So I actually resigned from my job so I could be at home because they were going to be functional very soon and they hadn't quite stopped their operations. So I resigned and I was working there in an R&D capacity, but basically I decided to just, take a step back and also, maybe pursue some of my personal agendas. And if that wasn't the time, then there would have been no better time. And of course, after a little bit of a break, I started to focus on my social media. And, it was all we could do at that time, to be honest, just bake at home, create some basic content and, things like that. So I started to really work on that. And somehow, very organically, without me even going out to look for it, people started reaching out to me to work with them. So whether it would be to join their faculty for a program or to consult with them on a menu or to take some private classes. So a lot of people started reaching out to me because of my social media profile, which really helped me start to generate this whole side of business, which I hadn't explored before. And it's really ended up being quite romantic. It's because the best business where you don't go out seeking and like people are coming to you. So that's honestly, it really impacted me in a good way. That so I touch wood, I think, because I would like to appreciate the fact that we are a little privileged. So I did not have to deal too much the other side of things. I have a family that is able to support me, and so my following of my passion. But it definitely gave me the opportunity to go out on my own and start doing my own business and freelance.
That's amazing. Okay. So one piece of advice if you have to give to somebody who's trying to pursue their passion or is in the midst of identifying whether they should go with their traditional choice of profession or passion, but they're not very clear about it. How would you say you can go about it?
Okay, so just firstly, I'd like to take a moment to say that if you do want to follow your passion, I am fortunate enough to have had the opportunity to follow it. I know it's not an option for everyone. So I tend to stay away from glamorizing the whole concept of following your passion because it's not necessarily the most practical approach for a lot of people. And it does take some time to build in those careers. And if you're making a switch, you're giving up a few years of revenue essentially, so it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. So it sounds great, but it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of sacrifice that you will do in that way. So that is something you'll have to take into account when you're making that switch. But if you do want to make that switch and that is what you want to pursue, firstly, I would probably recommend that don't invest time and money in courses and things until you know that's what you want to do. So the first step I took was I went and I had a friend who runs a pastry shop, like a small mid-sized bakery. I just asked her, can I come and shadow the team in the kitchen for a little while? So I literally worked for a few months and went to the kitchen for free. I offered free labor and I said, hey, listen, I want to see whether this is what I want to return to every single day. Before I invest 6 months in a course or ton of money in a course for no rhyme or reason, because what you end up doing is a hobby. When you translate into a career, you might end up killing both because it may not be a career you enjoy, but you've also killed that hobby that you used to really truly enjoy. So rather than going in 100%, figure out whether that's what you want to do. And a good place is maybe have like two things going simultaneously, and once one starts taking over, then you make the switch. So that's probably a nice way to approach it. But I would definitely say try something out by doing internships and, putting yourself in these positions where you have to go back day by day, see whether it's truly what you want to do, and then start taking steps towards that. And I don't think there's a right and wrong in the way you approach it in terms of if you should do a course or you should work your way up. Both have their benefits and their, cons. But that's all for afterwards. But this is my basic advice in terms of whether you should make the shift and how to go about that.
I think that's an absolutely excellent advice. I think that's a very wise thing to do to kind of weigh it out and then make your way into final decisions.
Absolutely. I know so many stories where people do their full course at Le Cordon Bleu for 9 months. They've gone to France, they've stayed there, they've come back to India, and they've joined commercial kitchens, and it it's completely a disillusionment for them because they don't you don't get a glimpse of the actual kitchen culture until you're in a working kitchen. So that whole perception that you have of this industry that may be very glamorous, it's not glamorous at all. The food industry is not glamorous at all. It just appears to be from the outside. Unless you're in television or you're like a celebrity chef or something, that's a different side of it when it comes to shooting in media. But the actual hardcore like pastry business and when you run kitchens and all, it's really just putting your head down and working hard. There's no glamour except when you actually reach a point where you've succeeded. So that's what people don't end up being prepared for. So it's always good to get a little idea of that first.
Very well said. Very, very well said. So now let's do a little bit more for Saror section. So at Saror,
Okay.
of course, sisterhood is everything for us. How would you define sisterhood for yourself?
To be honest, sisterhood is everything. So I grew up with a sister, so I truly understand the value of having a sister. And unfortunately, she has left me and moved to the US at the moment. But it's not that we are still really, really close. And that's a bond that once made it just stays for life, And those are the people who are your go-to people to rely on for everything. And even the people that you don't know, I just believe in lifting everyone up, and it's never a competition. I always believe in collaboration over competition. So like building other people up will help you grow as well. So I genuinely, that's what I think sisterhood comes down to. Like you have to want the best for all your sisters, essentially, even the ones you don't know yet.
Great. That is very well said again, Manali. Thank you so much for your time. It was really nice interacting with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Great, Manali. Take care.